Um, at the moment, fans feel pretty sour, no doubt, no doubt. Because you start the conference 6-1. K State starts off 6-1 and in Big 12 play, really unlike anything anyone ever guessed. Going into the season, first year for Jerome Tang, whole new team, only two returning players from last year. No one, even I, who thought K State could have a solid season and be a top half of the league team, even I didn't see a 6-1 start coming. Um, and I don't know if they did either. And the team felt that. The team felt that 6-1. Um, and they got satisfied. Jerome Tang said that after this last loss. Right now, I'll paint it. I'll keep painting the picture. After that 6-1 start to conference play, they've gone 1-5. Or no, I'm sorry. They've yeah, they've gone 1-4 in the last 5 games. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 games to conference foes. Started with Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, then Texas in a tough game at home that they lost by 3. Few things change in that game. K State probably gets a win there. Then they beat TCU, a good TCU team, but that team was without their best player. But K State made sure to play them tough and handled them. But now we're on the toughest, or really the toughest stretch to swallow from a fan's perspective, because K State just lost to the two worst teams in the Big 12, Texas Tech in Lubbock, and then they lost to Oklahoma in Norman, back-to-back games. So yeah, right now fans aren't very happy, understandably so. But at the same time, I know, talking to you, I know you probably, there are fans out there that want to bring up perspective, look at the full picture, see what's going on this season. Just because 1-5 is happening, or I'm sorry, losing 4 of your last 5 games, does not mean it's the end of the world.
Right.
It just means some changes needed to be made, and we'll get into that. But what do you think about Jerome Tang and um, first of all, I ask, what do you think about what's your perspective? You're a K State fan. You graduated from K State. What is your thoughts on how this season is going so far and where they're at right now?
Well, I still think obviously you talked about that 6-1. It was that in the Big 12
No.
you spoke on. I did not predict that. Like K State is my alma mater. I'm gonna love K State forever. But yeah, I really didn't have very high expectations at the beginning of the season. So I was definitely impressed with that. And like you spoke to it earlier, maybe the players, felt really good with how they were performing and them winning those games. And then maybe it got to him a little bit. Jerome Tang certainly feels like it did. And just like a leader, just like the head coach should do, he's trying to get them to restart. I'm sorry, reset. He's trying to get them to reset mentally and refocus back on their ultimate goal. I feel like we're still good. This little we went 1-4 over the last 5 games. You mentioned.
Mhm.
I think there's some learning moments there. I think the team is Jerome Tank is going to have the team go back to the drawing board, look at some of the mistakes that they've made, some of the mistakes that have been consistent in their losses, and they're going to rewire and bounce back from it. Is how I see it. Like obviously, you said the fans are, they may be growing impatient or they may be starting to get worried. The team can't worry about the negative perspectives or can't go into a mindset of doubt. It is natural. They probably be like, okay, maybe we don't have it. Maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. That's a natural type of feeling, but it's easy to feel that way. What Jerome Tang is going to help his team do is fight through those negative thoughts that come natural after losses, and is going to help them get back to building good habits, building good practice habits, executing their game plans and competition, and they're gonna get out of this drought. Is what I believe is how I believe the team is going to bounce back from it. I expect them to be in the Big 12 conference coming up, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, what they need to do to make sure that they get that tournament spot. And I believe Marquise Noel is going to bounce back. We'll talk about him in a second from some of the struggles that he's had. And I agree with Jerome Tang. He has to look at the mindset of his guys, and they still are good, probably overall mentally, but he feels like they become a little bit complacent. You know what? Yeah, nobody expected us to do this. We've exceeded people's expectations so far. We're good, but no, he's reminding them that they have bigger goals, and they need to get back to playing winning basketball.
Exactly. I think you said a lot of really good things, and I'll just add in a few more things I thought was interesting about that night in Norman, Oklahoma. After that loss, he had the team sit and kind of really sit longer than they have ever before after a road game. Just sit in the locker room and feel the loss. And I think that Jerome Tang is so calculated in how he handles his team. And I love that. I don't know. It's just not something you see all the time. He's playing with different things to see what kind of reaction he can get out of his team. How will they react? How are they going to respond to this adversity? And I really respect Jerome Tang as a person and a coach, how he's leading these men. He has some things to learn too. First year head coach, a lot of things to learn as a guy going through that. I can only imagine, but he's still being successful, and he keeps that successful mindset. And he straight up told his team, you got two more. You got to get two more wins, or we're not going to the NCAA tournament. Honestly, I don't even know if that's true. They probably still get in if they lose the rest of their games. It's possible. It's not for sure, but it's possible because we've seen a Big 12 team get into the tournament with 7 conference wins, and that's where they're sitting at right now. But I see where he's coming from. 9 for sure gets them in. 9 conference wins for sure gets them in. So he's saying, hey, we got to get 2 more, even though we have to get 2 more. However it happens, we have to get 2 more. And at the same time, he's still also instilling, but let's go win them all. Like, we know we're good enough. Let's get back to the hunger we had before and figure this thing out. And then when it comes to Marquise Noel, another guy I really respect, and he's been on a skid. And Jerome Tang has said in the past, and it turns out to be very true, Marquise Noel is this team's arrow. Wherever this team goes is where Marquise Noel takes them. And I love that line, and sure enough, that's how it's going right now. When he was playing some of the best basketball in the country, not just the Big 12, the country, that's when they were going 6-1 to start Big 12 play. He's been on a skid. He's so important to this team. When he is not shooting the ball well and turning it over, as a guy that's played point guard, when that happens, it's hard to win basketball games, especially when it's Marquise Noel, your leader. So he is the guy that really needs to figure it out and find that consistency again. But it's tough. A guy his size, Big 12, as tough as it is, teams are figuring him out. But he is so crafty. I wouldn't be shocked if he finds a way to dismantle all those other teams' plans of trying to slow him down.
That's gonna be his challenge, G, like you said, and watching him so far this year, I know he's the type of person that he's faced with the challenge. He's faced with the challenge. He's going to figure out how to overcome it. He's not going to back down from it. So I think he's going back to the drawing board. I'm sure him and Jerome Tang have been in very, very close communication with each other, trying to figure out different strategies on a way to get him back to playing at the level we seen him play with at the beginning of the season. And yeah, I believe in him because I respect his mindset. It's not easy playing Division I Big 12 basketball at his size, one, just and being a starter. Because what do you give him? 5'7", 5'8", maybe?
Oh, he's 5'7", maybe even 5'6",
He's
possibly even 5'6", but he's listed as 5'8", so we'll give him 5'8", you
okay.
know.
We'll give him 5'8". Like this guy is a dog. Let's not even, you know what I mean? Like he's done a lot to get to where he is, and this is his next challenge. And like I said, I believe he's, figuring as we speak, probably in the gym somewhere, getting up shots, communicating with his coaches. Jerome Tang has a game plan for him and the rest of the team to get back to where they were before, get back to playing winning basketball. So I believe he's going to overcome his struggles, and I'm looking forward to see how he does against the Cyclones on Saturday.
I am too. And the last thing I want to add about Marquise before we touch on Iowa State game on Saturday, um, and I think you'll appreciate this. I asked him after the game, or someone asked him. I don't know if it was me. Um, what do you think you could do better? Or what do you think are some of the things internally that you could do to maybe turn around some things? It was worded like that. I think I asked the question in a different way, but it's something like that. Maybe even we can splice that comment into this podcast, but or a clip at least. But he said he wants to get back to bringing the guys together, going out and going to a movie together, go bowling, things they did as a team when they first got on campus, in the fall and in the summer when they were just getting to know each other. They do all these bonding activities. And Keith made it sound like, lately they've I think they still do a lot of things together, but maybe haven't done the extra thing to really make sure they're bonding at a good level that can absolutely affect a team's morale and how they and how hungry they are to go get wins for each other, So
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point that he was making there. That team cohesion is very, very important. So, and they're student athletes, right? So their schedules are busy, probably, especially during the basketball season. So that may be why they haven't hung out and done some fun things off the court. But it's good, Hey, it's coming from your point guard, a leader of the team. He senses that the team's camaraderie could be better, that they needed improvement in team cohesion. So, hey, I love that coming from him because that's so important. And there's no doubt about it that, if they spend that time together off the court, that'll transfer to how they perform on the court. We've seen it with championship teams that we see in all sports. You kind of notice that they have this bond, they have this chemistry with each other. And if the Wildcats have aspirations to being a championship team and winning more and increasing their team chemistry, they'll make sure that they develop their camaraderie off the court.
exactly. And yeah, and first thing Keith said he's gonna do when he gets back, after that game, take the guys bowling. So maybe right now they're bowling at this very time.
Beat all of them.
What's
That's
that? You
I
beat all of them? Yeah, it's a bowling action.
beat all of them in bowling. They need to invite me up there. But no, just kidding. That's just mine.
No, you ain't kidding. I want to hang with the team too. So but yeah, no, last thing we need to talk about when it comes to K-State is just how massive this game is. And I want to ask you, like, what does a team that's lost 4 of the last 5 games going into a game against Iowa State, top 25 team that's already beat K-State once at their own home? What does K-State need to do mentally? What are they doing to prepare for this massive game that I think both of us can consider a must win from a perspective of K-State still wants to finish as high as they can in the Big 12. They're not going to finish as high as they can unless they get this win tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to be focusing on what they can control and that only. You know what I mean? Like they are in this drought. They can't go back. They can't change the past, right? So I can imagine after last game, and from what it sounded like from Jerome Tang, they just went into a mindset of they're going to reset. They're going to focus on the next game. They're not going to put too much pressure on themselves. Obviously, it's probably one that they need to win, but they're just going to. They probably had some really good practice sessions. Switched up some things that on the defensive end, on the offensive end, make some adjustments there. Put some extra shots up, did whatever they needed to do from a preparation standpoint to be ready for Saturday against the Cyclone. So they're just focusing on what's in front of them, and they're focusing on executing their game plan, executing how they prepared for this game. So one game at a time. They can't look too far ahead. They can only focus on what's in front of them, and that's the Cyclones. No need to be intimidated by how well they've been playing, and no need to be intimidated by the fact that they lost to them previously in their previous match with each other. Like I said, they can't control that. They need to focus on what they can control, and that's their effort, that's their concentration, and they need to make sure that that's just on them executing the game plan and giving their best effort. From a mindset standpoint, that's from a mental performance coach's perspective. That's where I imagine where their mind is right now. They're just going to focus on the next game, and during the game, they're going to focus. They're going to take things one play, one possession at a time, and they'll be fine.
That's why they call you Coach Chris, man, because I think everything you just said is what a lot of coaches say. Porter Moser just said that after they beat K-State at Oklahoma. That's the Oklahoma head coach, head basketball coach. After he beat K-State, he got asked the question, what thinking back on all those bad losses that you've had, and now you have this good win, how do you make sure you keep the wins going or keep that positive trajectory going? He just simply put said, I'm not going to look at the past. I'm not going to look at the bad stuff back there. We're going to take this positive and keep moving forward. And I think that was something a lot of coaches say. Jerome Tang has said it, in his own way.
And what's his mantra? You talked about it in our last episode. What is it? What's next? Or 1-0 or
1-0. Yes, even after losses, he'll tweet out, "What's next? 1-0." He's a man. He's a boss. He's not someone who's gonna sulk on his adversities. He's gonna try to find ways to get out of that adversity. So I love and respect Jerome Tang as a man, and I think he's doing a hell of a job coaching. I think these last few weeks have been learning moments for both him and his team and his staff, and they're still learning as a first year cohesive coaching staff. So there's gonna be adversities, and he knows that. And um, right now, I think it's refocusing. I like that you brought up effort because Jerome Tang mentioned right after the game, um, goes hand in hand with them being satisfied. They didn't play with enough effort. He was honest about that. So it's a moment to reset, like you said, and refocus. And I think Jerome Tang's the man to do that. And I think push all those emotions that came with all those early wins aside, because I think that also may have been a part of why they hit a wall. You have all those emotions after so many good wins.
Mhm.
And you see it in coach after the game, and he's teary eyed, he's happy. He just ran into the fan sections and did the Wabash Cannonball with the fans. Like, you do that enough times, it's great, but that motion can overwhelm anyone,
Mm.
um, and can sometimes, you know, take things off kilter a little bit. But he's the kind of coach that is going to refocus and get everyone back on the right track. I think we both believe that about this team. So
Yeah, they'll get back to it, and I'm glad that you brought that up. You could be overwhelmed with emotions from winning, and maybe some players, got off of their practice routines a little bit. Maybe they weren't, practicing as hard. But losing has a way of humbling you.
mhm.
Make you go, okay, what do I need to do to get better? And when you're winning, it can be harder to see, what you need to do to get better because it's just like, hey, the outcome was we won. So, like I said, I'm not accusing them of, not taking the game seriously or anything after winning the games and after getting off to a fresh start. But it is a possibility that something happened. Maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and Jerome Tang and Marquise Noel, the two leaders they are of the group, and I know there's other leaders on the team, but they're trying to get their team back to that hunger, like you mentioned earlier, having that hunger and going after it regardless after a win or a loss.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you brought up the Oklahoma coach for an example because that's another example right there. Even after a win, you got to stay focused. You got to stay locked in because you could have made some mistakes, but just came out with the W that you need to clean up. So, yeah, man.
Business as usual. We won the game, but we have mistakes to fix too. Moser said that too. So that's why they call you Coach Chris.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, Wildcats, yeah, they're gonna get back to it. Don't worry about it. Love, I believe in. I don't say this about everybody, but Jerome Tang, he's that guy. He's a great leader. He has strategies, like you mentioned. He turned the lights off on them, made them feel how bad it is. Not bad it is to lose, but the feelings that come with losing. I feel like that's a great strategy to motivate the guys to be like, listen, you feel how this is feeling. You feel that sting right there. Look, all right, you don't want to feel like this too much more, huh? You don't want to feel like this often. Let's do what we got to do. Let's focus. Let's rewire so we can make sure that we bounce back and get back to winning basketball.
I love it. That's why one day we're going to get Jerome Tang on this podcast and
Oh,
other guys, because it's major the type of, I think, impact Jerome Tang could have on um, everyone's mental health if they just sat down and listened to him talk, because he is extremely impressive. But anyway.